On Monday morning, the gifts we had collected from our Spirit of Giving Christmas trees were all on tables in the middle of Father Dowling Hall. They were ready to be organized later in the afternoon for individual families who could just use a little extra kindness this time of year. There they were, 667 presents, all wrapped and shining brightly. You should have seen how big our preschoolers' eyes were when they saw those. The preschoolers were on their way over to church to join the other students for our Lady of Guadalupe prayer service. And as they came into Father Dowling Hall and saw all those presents there so shining and bright, their eyes were like this. Now, for many, especially when we're younger, it can be exciting to see presents all wrapped in their various colors under the tree, colors, sizes, and shapes. At home, sometimes little people shake the presents under the Christmas tree. Sometimes big people do too, but only when no one else is looking, right? Now, in my estimation, one of the saddest things about Christmas is that some of the most beautiful gifts around the tree never get opened. Perhaps it's because we don't like how they're wrapped, or maybe we take these gifts for granted. But sadly, I think it's true. Let me show two of the gifts that I think often don't get opened at Christmas. Number one, the first gift that often does not get opened is this. Did you hear that? Silence. Sometimes we do not get quiet enough to open the gift of silence in our own hearts. We don't stop the stimulation around us enough to be aware of some of what is going on inside of us, to open the gifts inside our own hearts. Now, the path to get inside is sometimes not easy. We're, often enough not used to going inside to be aware of and to name what's in there. Perhaps we dread the parts of us that carry some pain or are frightened. Maybe we've just gotten a little bit out of the habit. But I worry that too many of us do not spend enough time in the quiet place in here, the place where Christ dwells, and that place where Christ will be born anew. It is worth it to open this gift. It is. The second gift that often doesn't get opened, the other people with whom we interact these days. This Christmas, if you and I are fortunate enough to spend any time with friends or family members, a spouse, a grandparent, a sibling, what a shame it would be, I think, if we don't take time to find out what's inside of them as well. I mean, what an emptiness. Should we have all been together and, laughed, maybe eaten a meal, maybe exchanged gifts, and not have taken enough time to look at, or maybe even into, the eyes of our own family members, maybe shared a bit of our own hearts with them, listen a bit to who and how they are at this time in their lives. Sometimes we give gifts, presents, but never give our own presence because the gifts are easier. Perhaps it's easier to give my teenager a gift than to try to understand what's going on a bit inside of his or her head or our heart. Perhaps it is easier to give a gift to my spouse than to work at how we continue to grow together. Perhaps it's easier to give a gift to my friend than it is to let them know what's in my heart a bit, or to make room for what's in theirs. In a similar way, if you and I know anyone who has lost a loved one or had some other tragedy, as we go through these days, it's good to let them know that we're thinking about them. Perhaps let them know that we're wondering what it might be like for them this time of year. Many of us are hesitant to do that. Yes, they might cry. And it's certainly okay if they don't want to talk. And yes, it might be a bit awkward. Or we might just get a glimpse of who they are inside, and therefore open the profound gift of connection. Because in connection to one another, there we meet God. Of all the gifts we could ever unwrap, the two that most often don't get unwrapped are usually, are really the most amazing gifts. And they're also unique in this way. The more we unwrap these, the more we find. There's no end to the wonder, the mystery, the delight we can find in our own hearts and in each other's hearts. So it really is sad that these are the two gifts, the most important gifts that often don't get unwrapped. As amazed as our preschoolers were to walk into Father Dowling Hall, and when they saw all those presents with eyes this big, I hope they learn, and that we do as well, to be amazed at the gifts in here, in our own hearts, and the gift in the hearts of all God's children we meet along the way.